there's just something about riding a 50cc at wide open throttle, trying to keep up with traffic. It just fucking hits different. It hits different than any other fucking bike, I feel like. Do you guys feel like that? Like your Derbi Senda just even if you still have that, or maybe you have that in some other bikes, it just hits completely different. Like once I get on this Senda, my whole riding style changes, and I don't know, I'm just like so happy to be on it, and it's just a different feeling. Riding a 50cc motorcycle is a whole different ball game. There's just something about it that I love. There's something like so unique about it that I feel like no one else would experience what you're talking about. Like, we got these heavy headwinds today, so I'm fighting the wind. You have other tactics you can use, like riding behind the back of a car to like get their draft. That can increase your top speed a little bit. And I don't know, I feel like there's different techniques that you use when you're riding like a tiny 50cc bike like this that you don't use on any other kind of motorcycle. Like, I'm getting a little closer trying to get the draft of this car so it can cut some of that wind for me and help my speed out a little bit. Just like wide open. And this happens especially if you live somewhere wide open like I do. Like, let's say you live in like the countryside or something like that. You're going to be wide open a lot, and you're going to be fighting wind. There's no buildings to cut down on wind. You're going to be fighting wind a whole bunch, just trying to keep up with the flow of traffic. I will say that even though these small 50cc bikes have like all these like I would call them inconveniences, I feel like I pull this bike out more than any of my other bikes because it's just funner to ride like these smaller bikes. Like, to hold it wide open, it's just something, I don't even know how to really describe it, charming or romanticized about, like, because this was my first bike, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I will pull this bike more out than the others recently. Even the pullaways from like traffic lights when it's time to go, it's just different. Like, you have to make sure you have enough gas, and you have to make sure you're releasing the clutch just right so that you don't stall. I find that, like, so, I don't know, it's I feel like it takes more skill to ride one of these in some senses. You're also trying to balance, like, holding it open but not blowing it up, you know, trying to keep up with the flow of traffic, but also at the same time not trying to blow your bike up because it's just redlining the whole time. There's just something about it. I don't know. It just fucking hits different. Trying to redline here, get the most that you can out of the last gear, change into your next, just so that the next gear can carry you through the power band, especially if you're a heavier guy like me. I'm about 240 pounds, and that's without gear, so I'm just trying to extract every little ounce of power I can out of this thing, just to keep me going. And that's just like the fun thing about it. Just like this is a good way to explain it. Like, every single shift that you do has to be precise. It's like you're on a racetrack and you're trying to extract every little ounce of like power out of it, and you're not going anywhere. Like right now, I'm just going to the DMV so they can like fix my license up and add some like a certificate to it. But it's like you're trying to extract every little bit of power out of the thing. It's like everywhere is your racetrack. I also noticed on these, it might just be my setup, but on these Sendas, I really have to like hit the throttle down a lot just for me to rev match. Like, I have to give it a lot. If I just give it like a little blip, it doesn't like rev match too good. That might just be because I had this throttle might just be longer pull than most. I suspect that's the reason of that, but I don't know. Even doing that, there's something like charming to it. It's like, oh yeah, you get on the Senda, you just give it loads of throttle to rev match. You just pull it all the way, not just a blip, all the way. This is really like a all or nothing bike. You give it all of it. It doesn't want just a little bit. It wants all of everything. I guess that's the last gear. You guys do that? You guys check to see if you're in the last gear because you just forget. You're just like, what fucking gear am I in? Oh, that was it. That was number 6 right there. I used to do it on my 5-speed bike a lot because it used to redline at like, it was a Suzuki RMX 250. I think it was set up for probably like 65 miles an hour, but with the 5-speed, you just always think there's another gear. You're like, oh, is that it? 4 gears? Like, I'm redlining here, and I'm not going anywhere. And on that bike, I was more scared to really give it a lot because those parts are very expensive for that bike because they're so like they're kind of rare in a sense because it's so vintage now. So it's a little harder to get parts for that bike. Well, on these bikes, I'm not too scared at all. Cylinders are $100 shipped to you, like 70cc cylinders, Naruto or however you pronounce it. Like you can literally just throw cylinders and pistons at this thing and still be able to afford it. On other bikes, you have to like save the cylinders, send them out to get rehomed, and get the nickel side or whatever like redone and plated and stuff. Like you have to be very careful. But on these bikes, you just chuck out the cylinder and piston and fucking throw a whole new kit on for under $200, and in most cases $100. Just throw a whole new cylinder and piston on. It's a little crazy. I wish all bikes were like that. You can chuck the cylinder and piston you have and just buy a whole new other set for very cheap. That's another reason I love riding this bike, and I love redlining it because I know the parts are so inexpensive. I actually just reminded myself I am actually not sure if this is also a license center. I think it is, because I have to do license stuff and not car stuff. Shit, it says appointment only on the thing, but it has no appointment for recertifying your CDL. Have to see. So I was able to square away what I needed to square away here. It all worked out pretty good. All I have to remember, my gearbox is flipped in the GP style, so my first gear is actually all the way up. And I mess up on that a lot. But there was a nice police officer in there. We chatted for a little bit. He rides a motorcycle. And you know, he just asked me about how I like the knobbies on that thing. I was like, man, it's a little rough. They can get a little rough on the road, but I'm so used to it now that I don't really think about how comfortable or uncomfortable the knobby is. It just is what it is. Yeah, it was pretty pleasant. I was in and out in probably like 10 minutes, if that. So yeah, pretty good DMV experience. I know it doesn't happen a lot. It's kind of rare. It's getting a little colder out. 48 outside. I'll put that what it is in Celsius on the screen, because I know I have a lot of, not a lot, I only have a few of you guys watching these videos, but I have some people who watch, not in the US, so I'll put the Celsius up on the screen, what 48 is. I don't find myself over in this part of town a lot anymore, so I'm actually going to go to Panda Express, because it's not something I can easily get a lot. We'll stop over there and I'll get some Panda Express, because I've been wanting it for a while. Just never had it's just never been convenient to get. It's now come to me as I'm pulling up. I've never eaten inside a Panda Express, so I'm not too sure how it works when you eat inside. I've always just went through the drive-thru or picked my shit up. Find out. I'm just an awkward motherfucker. I got this double crunch, not double crunch, but like a chili fried shrimp situation going on with some veggies. This is going to absolutely fucking hit. Derbi out there looking pretty good. Be nice to get some graphics on it. That was an absolute slapper. I haven't had Panda Express in so long, and that hit the fucking spot for sure. The only criticism I would have basically is if that shrimp was like more sweet, on the sweet side. It was more on the spicy side, but that was fine. If it was more sweet, it would have made it even better. Wow, my bike cooled down so much. I was only in there for like 20 minutes, and it's already... I'm gonna sit here and warm it up for a little bit, but it's cooled down to 74 degrees. The temp. I'm gonna call it 90 good. I think 90 is 30-ish Celsius. I'm gonna call that good for now. Hopefully I didn't leave anything anywhere, because I always, whenever I'm out on the bike, I feel like I've left things all over the place, like IDs, phones, keys. I feel like all that stuff I just I leave a little bit at each stop, even though it's not necessarily true or even has ever happened. I just always feel like I'm leaving something. I'll wait for the light, because the intersection is dangerous. See, riding the 50cc is it just fucking hits different. You gotta nail every fucking shift. Like, that was exhilarating. Just trying to hit every shift right, just right, carry you into the next gear. a headwind. A little bit of a traffic situation going on here. Hopefully it's not too fucked. Hopefully I don't hold anyone up. I love Honda Civics so much, especially the older ones with their non-turbos. All their VTEC glory. Get those shifts. Get those shifts just perfect. Gotta see that red. Gotta see that red. Doesn't look like we're gonna get there. Too much wind. We might. I'm wide open, guys. So I might get it here. There we go. I'm gonna say the truck helped me a little bit, get a little closer to it. What other tactics is there to ride in 50cc? You usually don't pass unless the conditions are just absolutely perfect for you to make a pass. The only reason you should be passing someone on a 50cc is if the other person is fucking up big time. If they're fucking up, that's when you pass. But if not, I'll just fucking chill right here. Absolutely no motorway, no dual carriageway, no highway whatsoever. Maybe for one exit. But even then you're pushing your luck big time. I used to do a lot of that. That exact job right there. That Coca-Cola truck. Just like all kinds of businesses, gas stations, grocery stores, all of that. And in that case, a golf course. But I much prefer hauling cars. Because the freight basically is propelled by its own engine. It's way less physical. The hours are way shorter. It's just all around better, and the pay is way better. Another thing that you'll notice driving a 50cc bike more than any other bike, you can tell where the hills are and where the upgrades and where the downgrades are. Like so much better than if you're in a car. If you're in a car, you probably think this whole fucking street is like completely flat. But if you're on a 50cc bike, you know that this street is not flat at all. There's a bunch of gradient to it, and that comes in kind of what your strategy of how if you were to make a pass and the hills come up, you're like, okay, let's hold off on that pass. But if a downhill section's coming up, you're like, yeah, I'm making that fucking pass. I'm gonna have plenty of fucking power to do it. That's me fucking up the GP shift again. I automatically went back to my conventional motorcycle shifting and I almost fucked up. I was like, oh no, that's the wrong gear, let's pull the clutch back in. Tell you, whenever I get done riding a Derbi, I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel like I really fucking accomplished something. Hitting all those shifts just right and fucking just really just getting it, as I would say. Just feels good.